Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I am Sam and today I have for you another art video. We're gonna take part of a drawing challenge which was launched by Olivia Draws and Paints on Instagram. Unfortunately, I haven't asked Olivia if I can share the image, but I will put her link, her Instagram link below, so you can see the reference photo and as well join the challenge. And please do, because it's a wonderful little drawing challenge. This is the final work. It's a tiny lighthouse, and apparently this is the smallest lighthouse, I don't know if in the world, but for sure in the UK. So without any further ado, let's get started with the materials. So first of all, we need our paper. This is an A5 size piece of Arches paper. It's a very rough texture, 100% cotton. A set of watercolor, and this is a mix of Sennelier and Winsor & Newton. A couple of brushes. I have a mop brush number 6 and a filbert number 12. A pencil. This is a 2HB pencil, rubber, of course, we always use a rubber over here, and a couple of fine liners in different sizes. I have a 0.5 and a 0.1, and these are waterproof, so they don't smudge in water. I tend to use fountain pens for my drawing instead of fine liners, but both are good enough. I tend to use a couple of different sizes of nibs just to get more texture and different lines. This is it for our materials, so let's get started. First of all, I like to set my piece of paper on a tablet. This is just a very old light box, and I'm going to fix it on the tablet using some masking tape. I don't like to stretch my paper with water, so this is a good way to both give my drawing a little bit of a border and as well keep it in place. On with the drawing now. The first thing that I always do is to trace the main lines and the main shape. I start with the horizon line and then the main perspective lines. This is technically the roof, the ground, the windows, the top and the bottom of the windows, just to get a rough idea of the perspective. Although I'm not a technical drawer or painter, so perspective in my case is just a little bit of a feeling. Keeping always in mind my perspective, I then go in and I try to roughly shape the main boxes, the main shape, thinking of course as every building, every tree as a sort of a box that fits or may not fit very well in the main perspective lines. Happy with the drawing? Now let's start inking. I'm using a Fuda nib fountain pen here, which is a bent nib fountain pen, but you can definitely use a fine liner. And for this stage, we use a bold fine liner or a Fuda nib fountain pen. I want to get the outer border a little bit thicker than the details, the inside border. So I'm just going to trace my pencil line with my Fuda nib, keeping in mind to avoid all the detail inside and just tracing the outer border. It's a sort of a style type of choice, and you can definitely do whatever it pleases you. I think it just gives a little bit of more illustrative feeling to my final painting. The ink that I'm using here is the Atramentis waterproof ink for fountain pen. Works really well. It's really black and really, really waterproof. When the inking is done, a tip that I found really useful is to erase every pencil line and mop through the drawing with a piece of clean towel, clean paper. This helps to get rid of all your hands oil on the paper and get the color to stick much better. Color-wise, I always start with the sky from the very top with a darker shade of blue. In my case is French ultramarine from Sennelier. I go very methodically on this stage, from very dark on the top to very light on the bottom. And to achieve so, I just clean my brush at every line, at every grade of color. So basically, I'm dragging the color from the top all the way down to the bottom until it's quite transparent. And having 100% cotton paper works really well because it stays really wet for a long time. So you can just play around with your shades and get this gradient that I think is quite nice and reflects reality. Now I'm splashing a little bit of color. I don't know why. This is something that I've been doing lately. I think it gives the painting a tiny bit more of an organic, painterly feeling. Can you see how the ultramarine blue is granulating on the paper? Is just absolutely beautiful. After the sky is done and I'm happy with it, I go in with the main colors of the buildings, or if you are painting nature, the trees and so on. In this case, for this kind of greenish aqua blue, I'm using a combination of sap green, lemon yellow, and ultramarine blue. It's not perfect. I didn't have the color that I really was looking for. To create those little bit of rusty spots, I'm just using a tiny bit of aquanacridone gold in places when the other paint is still wet, so it gets the chance to melt together and gives it a more organic feeling. I tend to use a very limited palette for my watercolors. This is probably due to a bit of inexperience, but as well I find that brings everything a little bit together, not to use thousands of colors. And then the shadows. In this case, we are very lucky because Olivia's picture has very marked down shadows, so they're very easy to recognize. If not, remember that you're working with 3D objects and the lights always come from above and at an angle, meaning left up or right up corner of your page. So just remember that and play around with the shadows. For my shadow, I use a combination of, once again, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. You can really have every type of grays using these two colors, warm, cold grays, and so on. I tend to do a couple of passes on my shadows, keeping darker shadows for the darker spot and lighter shadows for the lighter spot. I do like, of course, to leave a lot of white or negative space in my painting. I feel it's just very nice. And that's basically it. Easy, easy, lemon squeezy. I really hope you could follow along, and if you have painted this little challenge, please remember to tag me, show me the picture, send me an email, a message. I always love to see other artists' interpretation of any painting, to be honest, especially that I made myself, so it brings me a possibility to learn and as well a lot of pleasure in seeing other beautiful art. Once again, please, if you found this video helpful, consider to subscribe to my channel. This will help massively my little channel to get some sort of visibility on the wild world of internet. And as well, if you're interested in purchasing one of my art pieces, I currently have originals and probably a couple of prints if they are still in stock, but I need to check. Oh, you can check in the description below. I have my Etsy account linked, so yeah, that will support massively. If you would like to support me somehow, please like, subscribe, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye bye.